I'm nostalgic guy, remember? So you don't have to. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's David, Giant 2B here. So we're continuing off with Star Trek 3. And, of course, Star Trek 3, it recaps, Wrath of Kahn. And this, of course, is a search for Spock. And, of course, Leonard Nimoy wanted to direct the movies. He wanted to direct two of them. There's rumors that, in his contract that, I want Spock to die. That was never, he's gonna no more Spock after Wrath of Khan, but that's not true. So, so they did, so they do 3 and 4, and of course the search for Spock, life, death, and whatnot, and of course, the same cast and crew. This time you have John Larroquette as a Klingon, and of course Christopher Lloyd, who later becomes Dr. Emmett Brown. Everybody knows, typecaster Dr. Emmett Brown plays the head Klingon, Krug, as in this, and of course Kirstie Alley substituted with a different actress and whatnot. So anyway, they recap the funeral and whatnot, and of course, Shatner, Kirk, recaps how he feels young and whatnot, and that was kind of the tipping thing. I think that was mentioned in Star Trek 2, and of course, obviously it's an odd one. It's not as bad as the first one, but yeah, it's not that good. It's not that good. I guess the evens are pretty much the best ones and whatnot. So as they recap shooting, and then of course they just kind of replay the credits from the last one backwards to start the movie. I don't know why Nemoy did that. I guess they wanted to recap what was going on from 2. So. Of course, they use the James Horner music. Like I can't shoot frame for frame, but obviously they're replaying the credits. Oh, Mark Lenord's in this, of course, as Sarek. Apparently, Major Barrett had a major scene in this, but it was all deleted. So that's kind of, and I think Judi Dench was in it too. But that's interesting too to know. Yeah, but Katie Curtis was the savage that slept in. But anyway, so they replay that, and then, of course, they're heading back home, and of course, the Enterprise is all wounded from Wrath of Khan, and Kirk is narrating his captain's log, but he thinks that everything's empty, and they're approaching, and of course they approach into the Excelsior, the NX 2000, the Great Experiment, and whatnot. And meanwhile they have Commander Kruger introduces himself and whatnot, and and he blows up for because Genesis information is considered a top secret thing, and top secret torpedo and whatnot.
When do I get paid off?
Soon, Captain. Twice.
I keep on recording pictures of myself, but I keep on deleting that. But that's why it's super zoomed and whatnot. But anyway, yeah. And of course, they don't give a damn or anything. And of course, they're just kind of just like, oh yeah, they'll just shoot and destroy anything for whatever. But anyway, so they decide, and of course, meanwhile, and they get the Genesis information of what they got from the smugglers. And of course, Enterprise is arriving in the space dock. They had more budget apparently for the space dock and stuff, unlike the previous two. And of course, yeah, they see the Excel. And of course, Sulu likes it, but everybody else doesn't like it. And of course, they're told, oh yeah, after 25 years, you're not allowed to discuss, the Enterprise is 20 years old, no more, and Genesis has become intergalactically illegal and stuff. And so, this is like the light jokes that they have with that one.
Look at that.
My friends, the great experiment. The Excelsior. Ready for trial runs. Supposed to have transport drive.
Spock left his Contra inside of McCoy, and of course they don't know. They kind of hospitalize him and they get the medics. Meanwhile, like I said, I can't do shot for shot, and of course it's kind of a ghost thing because Nemoy is narrating inside of, and McCoy is DeForest is lip syncing. But anyway, like I said, I can't do shot for shot, and they don't know that Spock's inside. And of course, they're saying, "Oh, the Enterprise is 20 years old." And of course, of course, they have a scene, back in Kirk's apartment, and of course, they're like, they don't know what to do because they want to go back to seeing Genesis, and they're like, and it's funny because at this point, he's still Admiral, but apparently there's even a higher Admiral, there's a higher Admiral saying, no, you can't do that, even though, so it's kind of awkward with that, and they're kind of like, well, we want to go back to Genesis. And of course, then Mark Lenord, Sarek, Spock's father, comes by and says, "Well, you left his Contra with him, and whatnot." And and of course, Genesis is the top. Meanwhile, the Grissom, USS Grissom, a smaller science vessel, has David and not Cristiali, Savick exploring. Oh yeah, God, he has to be chief of it. So exploring, the Genesis planet that was created from the first movie and stuff. And they find life form and they don't know what it is. They have to beam down like, oh, what is this and stuff. And meanwhile, the Klingons are trying to figure this out. And of course, they're killing everything in their sight, just trying to get, because they think it's a torpedo. The Klingons think, or Christopher Lloyd thinks, he's like, this must be a weapon. Well, what the information, they think it's a weapon, this Genesis thing is a weapon, it's supposed to create life. Of course, they don't tell you later that it's proto-matter and whatnot. And I was like, I can't do shot for shot, but yeah. This will be faster because I'm not doing the space. There's no episode. This is just from the previous movie and whatnot. And of course, then they start speaking English from Klingon before, and obviously, what do you call it? John Larroquette realizes that they can make plants, but he was more peaceful, and sad that he gets killed. Larroquette. But anyway, so like I said, I can't see shot for that, but yeah, Grissom's exploring, and of course, meanwhile, everybody's down and out back on Earth. The crew, the main bridge crew, the bridge crew, not just, the bridge crew. I'm surprised at that one guy. I show that scene. That this one guy, he's kind of like, he was a trainee, and he wants a reception, for. I don't know, screwball. And of course they have their Atari stuff. But anyway, so yeah, Savick and David are exploring, and they, mixed, winter with summer weather, or summer weather with winter, and tropical. It's ridiculous.
We have reached the destination planet at point 035.
Very well, Lieutenant. Helm, execute standard orbital approach.
Standard orbit, aye, sir.
Communications. Send a coded message for Starfleet Commander, Priority 1. Federation Science Vessel Grissom.
Interesting though, because they're all by the book, and yet Savick and Wrath of Kahn was by the book. Anyway, so yeah, they're all kind of down and out and depressed, and when of course the Klingons, they destroy Grissom, and of course they beam down to look for Savick and David, Kirk's son. And like I said, I can't do shot for shot because I can't, for copyright issues in time. I'm not going to do 2.5 hours of stuff or whatever. Or I don't know. I think that I don't know. It's funny, the action-packed ones are shorter than the non, the boring ones, or the even one. I don't know. So anyway, so Sarek shows up, and he's like, you have the Contra, and he's like, well, I didn't have it. And of course, they had, they play replay of Wrath of Khan, of how how Spock's got down there. And he's like, oh, it must be lost. Well, maybe you would have gone with someone else. And of course, then they realize, oh, the mind roll, after the mind roll, then they realize, oh, it was Dr. McCoy, and we gotta get him up. And of course, Kirk is pleading to get back. But anyway, so yeah, they realize, oh yeah, it's McCoy, and they have to alert Dr. McCoy that he has his Katra. Obviously he's not exactly dead.
I spoke of your friendship. Asked you not to grieve. Yeah. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. Spock. I have live long and prosper. No.
Of course, the famous "I hear ya" comes out of Kirk when he says that, because it's funny. It's funny that Cartwright guy is the bad guy in 6, but we don't get there yet. Spoiler alert. Admiral Cartwright. I'm surprised he was his boss even as an admiral. I don't know. It's kind of weird, and it's fun. It's weird. Of course, it's a different actor that's playing Admiral Cartwright in this one. I think it's a different actor. And meanwhile, yeah. The Klingons destroy Grissom, and they beam down and find David and Savick. And of course, meanwhile, David and Savick find the remains of Spock, or they find Spock, and he's a live little boy. And they say, oh, we got to report this back to Starfleet. And they're like, no, go by the book. And they're kind of nervous. Of course, they get, Grissom gets destroyed as they're about to report this back. And then, they figure out, oh yeah, it's Spock, but he's running around. And of course, Grissom gets destroyed and whatnot. But it's amazing how, these odd numbers are not as good. This could be an episode of, and of course, what do you call it? Next Generation was taken off at the same time, and whatnot. And then so they find out that it's Spock, and meanwhile, that's what they find. And then meanwhile back, even though Kirk says gets a no, he says I'm going anyways. And that's where he starts breaking all the rules and violations and stuff. And where Scotty to sabotage the Excelsior. Excelsior has transwarp drive, as they said, and supposed to beat, and whatnot. And of course they have the comedy. Nemoy putting comedy in this one too. Not as good as the next one, but it's still a pretty good comedy. And of course, he gets committed and whatnot. But anyway, like I said, I can't show scene for scene and whatnot. But yeah. And of course, they also realize the planet is also falling apart. I have to back up. Excuse me. The planet is falling apart and whatnot. And yeah. What's the truth of the matter?
You'll destroy us. Do you understand me, Jim? I have to try. Of course. Nice to look up anytime. The word suit. The word? Yes, no. I am therefore going anyway. You can count on our help, sir. Thank you, Mr. Sulu. I'll need it.
Shall I alert Dr. McCoy?
Please. He has a long journey ahead.
I have to like the scene, Genesis. That's it. Planet Eagle. And of course they show some shibbles and stuff. But it's just so funny how he's kind of a Yoda character and whatnot. It's funny like what he does and whatnot. But yeah, and of course he has part of Spock. But yeah, it's kind of like the funniest scene of the entire movie.
Oh, forget. I hear I'm new. But you are no being McCoy from Enterprise.
You have me at a disadvantage, sir.
I name not important. You seek life. Message received. Available ship stands by.
How much and how soon?
How soon is now? How much is where?
Somewhere in the Tower sector.
Oh, the tower restricted. Take permits, many. Money. More.
I'm going to be in his damn permits. How can you get a permit to do a damn illegal thing? Look, price you name, money I got.
Place you name, money I name, otherwise bargain. No.
All right, damn it. It's Genesis. The name of the place we're going is Genesis.
Genesis?
Yes, Genesis. How can you be deaf with ears like that?
Genesis allowed is not. His planet forbidden.
Look,
Anyway, so they have to steal the Enterprise, and they escape Dr. McCoy out of the mental asylum, and up your shaft was kind of Scotty's own voice as the elevator. But anyway, so they had to steal, and of course they do steal the Enterprise, and Scotty kind of reroutes the computer, sabotages the Excelsior, but also opens the doors, and of course, the transwarp drive scene. These are like the only two funny parts of the serious movie, and of course, this isn't as good as, this is better than one, but not as good as Wrath of Kahn. Wrath of Kahn is probably the best. Obviously they're not cardboard cutouts like one, but it's not. It's kind of like mellow. It's an okay one. Obviously they drown out too much music and whatnot. And then of course they escape, and of course, like I said, Grissom gets blown up, and obviously David and Savick are stuck, and of course Christopher Lloyd and his party are down there. Meanwhile, David reveals the truth of that he used proton matter, which is some sort of experimental thing that would not fare very well.
Talk to me.
Aye. So he tries to get away with warp drive. He's really in for a shock.
Excelsior goes into 4,000 meters, sir.
Scotty, we'll need everything you have.
Aye, sir. Warp drive standing by.
Kurt, you do this, you'll never sit in the captain's chair again. Warp speed.
Aye,
Warp speed. Prepare for warp speed, stand by, transwarp drive.
Transwarp at your command, sir.
Execute.
Good morning, Captain is using 5, but anyway, so yeah, I find out, oh yeah, I used proto matter. Meanwhile, the Grissom is blown up and whatnot. Like I said, I can't use shot for shot. I'm trying to do, and yeah, and I'm just, rushing it along, like I told you, like at the previous, clip there. And of course, I do Pon Far, and it's like, Vulcan sex. And Lloyd is down there trying to seek out them, and of course then the Enterprise arrives, and they didn't really expect to go into combat and whatnot. And Lloyd didn't really want to kill any, he wanted the secrets, but they go down there and stuff. And of course obviously Lloyd's bird of prey wasn't that well equipped anyway for some odd, weird reason. And I think other clans realize the planet is dying and stuff. But anyway, and of course Kirk has to, he has a shootout, and then Lloyd beams aboard, and of course he beams like pretty much all of his. I'm surprised he had a lightweight stat. I'm really surprised with that. I'm just really surprised they had a lightweight thing with that. But everybody, and of course they have to blow up the Enterprise and stuff. But anyway, so yeah, they have a sitting duck situation. I'm really surprised that, because, I think a bird of prey, I guess I'm surprised. Of course, the Enterprise was badly hurt too. I don't know. I think it's evenly matched with a war cruiser versus a bird of prey. I don't know. Oh, and of course they killed David off too.
There was something there, sir.
What do you see?
For an instant, a scout class vessel.
Could be Grissom. Patch on the heading, please. Grissom, this is Enterprise calling. Please come in.
I said they have a sitting duck shootout, and of course David gets killed. Kirk's son, and and of course they have and of course the Enterprise gets blown up, and of course they beam down a cheat, and of course I'm really surprised with that, and then and of course Kirk has to fight him and whatnot.
Opinion, Mr. Sim. I think it's an energy surge. Enough energy to hide ships. Close to this.
Red alert, Mr. Scott.
Yeah.
1,000 telegrams.
And his revenge for him killing his son and stuff when he blows up the Enterprise. Like I said, I can't do everything. I can't do shot for shot of everything because that there's copyright and stuff. But yeah, he tricks him because he's like, because he was a Klingon bastard killed my son and whatnot. And of course they have a lot of good music with James Horner's music, and David tried telling him he failed. Of course, Savick keeps on telling him, "Oh, David died. He keeps on telling him that. That's one thing I didn't like about that. It's like, we heard it once, you don't have to repeat that. And and Nemoy does a good job with pointing the camera and editing with that. He does a good job with where to point the camera with the lighting. They keep on changing the sets though for the Bridge of the Enterprise. So anyway, so they use the same countdown like they did with when they tried blowing up the Enterprise. 000 destruct 0 and whatnot.
Destruct sequence completed and engaged. Awaiting final code for 1 minute countdown.
Code 0, 0, 0. Destruct 0.
Destruct sequence is activated.
The thing that really upsets me is that Scotty didn't have a mustache in the original series, and here he has a mustache and whatnot. I'm a little surprised with that one. But yeah, obviously they blew up the Enterprise, and that was very big controversial on whether or not my God, like I said, I can't show everything. I'm probably not going to show that, but it's very controversial because. He killed off a character. Of course, they killed off Spock, but it's like, hint, you're gonna get another Enterprise. It's like nothing really dies, especially with favorite stuff. But this is supposed to be the original TOS Enterprise, even though it's revamped, I guess. And he fights him, and of course, Nemoy dies. Gallantly fights and dies and whatnot. And of course it's funny how only one Klingon left after all of that. And it's amazing how they had that footage for the next, they keep that footage. I wonder where that footage came from. But anyway, and they have to go to Vulcan to restore, everything, after the fight and whatnot. And of course now it's fully formed Leonard Nimoy for that fully formed Spock and whatnot. And mainly have a Scotty. I heard there's a Major Barrett scene, but that was deleted. I'm surprised with that. I think she was in the first 4. But yeah, a lot of music, and of course they go to Vulcan and stuff to restore his Contra, his whatever he is. Yeah, I really need someone with me, ages 25 to 38, willing to give me a shot here. Non-smoker, no turn, or if you have a child under 5, just, willing to help me with these reviews and whatnot.
Genesis! I want it! Beam the Vulcan up! And we'll talk.
Give me what I want, and I'll consider it.
You fool, look around you! The planet's destroying itself!
Yes, exhilarating, isn't it?
If we don't help each other, we'll die here!
Perfect. And that's the way it shall be.
Of course, Christopher Lloyd does a good job playing. He was also in Taxi at this time. I'm surprised he lost all his hair. But anyway, they go to Vulcan and they restore, with the Queen, I guess. I don't know, it's weird Vulcan mysticism stuff. And of course, they restore his mind and whatnot. And of course, they have the stolen bird of prey and whatnot, when they get to Vulcan and stuff. So, I think John Larroquette was the only survivor.
Goodbye. We are clear. Read that, please. Best speed to Vulcan. Mr. Chekhov, take the prisoner below.
I said, wait. You said you would kill me.
I lied.
So one thing that I'm kind of upset and disappointed about was they kind of dragged on the recontra thing. I mean, I get they're trying to make it spiritual, but I think that's one disadvantage of Nemoy on this part. They kind of like dragged that on. That's why it's like, oh yeah, it's an odd one. It's like, I don't know, that's good, but it's not as good. It's not as good as the evens, but it's probably the best of the odds. Yeah, it's probably the best of the odds. Could almost be a good one. I don't know. But yeah, they just kind of drag it on. It's like, it's like, oh my gosh, here we go with the slow. I don't know. Of course, they have the budget to do drag on stuff. I think the problem with the one was like, just, it was just kind of like, oh my god. That's the problem with the one. It was just, so. They end, with him remembering, who he is. I don't know. He still gives a bad look to McCoy. It's like, I don't know. Like, they're kind of like, I don't know, have a love-hate relationship, I guess. Be like, Jim, your name is Jim, and of course they, it continues with with Voyage Home.
Because the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. I have been, never shall be, your friend. Yes. Yes, Spock. Ship. Out of danger. You saved us. You saved us all. Don't you remember? Jim. Your name is Jim. Yes.
So that was Star Trek 3, Search for Spock, and starring Shatner, Nemoy, DeForest Kelley, Doohan, Nichelle Nichols, and Koenig, and George Takei, with guests Christopher Lloyd as the Klingon. But yeah, don't have copyright stuff. But anyway, yeah. It's probably the best of them, and of course, we go to search for Spock, but also Nemoy, and of course, then Shatner wants to turn too. But anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much Search for Spock in a nutshell. And it's an okay movie. It's not a great movie, but that's my opinion. It's okay. It's not great. It's one of the better ones. But yeah. So that's Star Trek 3: Search for Spock. This is Giant 2B David signing off.